interesting.
Welcome to Unraveling Midlife. I'm your host, Sarah Spence. Thanks for joining me as I explore my own astrological midlife by speaking with all sorts of inspiring people about their life and work. Astrological midlife relates to Western astrology transits that run from everyone's mid-30s to mid-40s. Each of the four main midlife transits have an overall theme, though details vary by generation and, of course, by individual. If you're new to the show, welcome. You can also follow me on social media as Sarah Marlowe Spence, and you're welcome to subscribe to the show if you haven't already. You can even share it to let more people experience the fun that is Unraveling Midlife. At the end of each episode, I generally share a track of my original music, though today's a little out of the ordinary, so there will be more on that later. There's a link to my website in the show notes where you can find details about upcoming events, which often include music gigs or kirtan, joyful chanting, dream workshops, and since it's summer when I release this in February 2023, also festival season, part 2 of festival season coming up. Part 1 kind of having been covered in the last episode and a bit in this episode too. Today's guest is the Gareth Edwards, not to be confused with any of the many other Gareth Edwards in the world. Gareth has an array of arrows to his bow. His work includes improving mental health systems and entertaining as a keynote speaker. He's an author, songwriter, and musician. Basically, he's really good value, he's incredibly funny, and I'm stoked to have him on the show. Is that New Zealand English? Stoked? Probably. Anyway, I'm happy to have him. This episode was recorded live at Evolve Festival in Nelson, New Zealand, a few weeks before release date. So shout out to Evolve Festival, excellent festival, and to the Nyoni player who was jamming outside the caravan that you'll hear in the background. So Gareth, welcome to Unraveling Midlife. We're here recording live from Evolve Festival in Nelson, in New Zealand. And because it's a bit windy, we've found someone's caravan. So you may hear campsite noises. But Gareth, yay, so good to have you.
Hey, thank you.
Fellow Aquarian,
Yes.
let's celebrate. Whoop whoop. Tell us, what's a bit about you?
A bit about me. Yeah, I'm here at Evolve Festival, and so sometimes I'm a performer, play my own music. Sometimes I'm a laughter workshop facilitator at these kind of events, and then I have a day job in mental health.
Oh, right. What does that mean?
On a good day, I get to build new mental health services that are different to the norm.
Oh.
And on a less good day, I try and fix the ones that exist already.
Yeah, right. Right.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, you've got many kind of feathers in your hat, and that's without even knowing too much about the day job. Because last time we were here at Evolve, we actually sang together.
Yeah, we did. Yeah,
The last time I was here.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that was good fun. So laughter yoga, singing, performing, and I do recall that you had like a fringe show and you did really well at the local fringe festival.
Yeah, I gave Fringe a go a couple of years. That was nearly maybe 8 years ago.
Was it that long ago?
Yeah,
Wow.
2015 is when I did the first Fringe show, and it's kind of by accident because I was doing somebody else's Fringe show, so I just put my own in, and yeah, just winged it. Just came with the songs I had, and every song I've got has got a story. I knew what I was going to say at the start, and I knew my first song, and then after that I was just going to go with whatever I felt was right.
So
And it
ad lib.
went well, yeah, completely. Yeah, I kind of knew what songs were flowing through the fingers at that time, but yeah, I didn't really have a structure.
Huh.
And it was proper white knuckling, but it worked really well. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, it depends on the audience, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, that's the feedback I was getting when I was prepping. People were saying, you're better when you're responding to the audience rather than going with a fixed plan.
Yes.
So I threw my plan out the window. Literally, I had a 4-page document of a plan, and I just tore it up and just went on stage and did my best.
Cool. And I mean, you've managed to merge your music and your day job stuff, like doing MC gigs and all sorts, haven't you?
And in fact, that's where my music where I first really played, was at sort of mental health conferences, doing MCing, doing a few of my songs. A lot of the songs that I started with were very mental health focused. So some were sort of sad, some were joyful, some were ponderous. I had a lot of kind of on-topic songs. And then that's what I took out on my stage show when I did the Fringe, just to see if there was a kind of interest beyond the mental health world.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and there was. It was really fascinating because some of them are quite nuanced. Like, you have to know, a bit about the kind of what they call the pointy end of mental health. But they still seem to resonate. They still seem to really go down well.
Well, I remember your second album really helped me get through a breakup. And it wasn't until I said that to you and the response I got was that, like, that wasn't really what it was designed for, but I got a lot out of it. And I have no idea what the story was behind the album, except that I really enjoyed it.
Well, the second one was the most mental health one. So I mean, it's got a song called Psychiatric Blues about being on a psychiatric ward. That's as pointy as it gets. But then I guess because the other songs, they speak to more kind of universals, like people who have breakups. A really good example. Anything that's really, unraveling, anything that's distressing, it's all in the same sort of ballpark.
Well, it's the mind, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And also challenges in life, like dealing with the tough stuff.
Which happens to all of us. But what I found getting into this astrological midlife focus was I just felt like at 37, I was like, what's going wrong? Like, everything was going okay, and then suddenly it just seems to have turned to custard. Why is this happening to me? Why are people being weird? And just this kind of whole, and talk to younger people, and they're like, everything's going well, and I'm like, well, my life feels like custard right now. Like, what happened to you, like, in your midlife? Like, I gave you some dates to kind of have a look over.
Been a very similar age, actually. So 2010 was the one of the years you gave me. So I would have been 36 in 2010.
Yeah.
And that's when the wheels really started falling off. I didn't really know how far they'd fall. I just thought I was kind of going through some tough stuff. I remember going back to the UK. So I'm born in Manchester, north of the UK. And I went back and I remember sort of catching up with some old school friends and hearing about others. And I thought, if I'd have really wanted to have been in the rat race, I should have stayed here. I should have stayed in England and really gone for it like my sort of contemporaries had. And yet here I was in Auckland, which for me is a Pacific Island, beach haven place, like it doesn't really feel too much of a city. But still very much doing the career thing. I had three main jobs at that time. Ran 2 companies and ran a 3rd charity. So I was really going for it by accident. It wasn't intentional. And really noticing that was unsustainable. And that classic, that cliched almost, like, doing well in the material world, but inside just slowly ebbing away. And that was 2010. So that was, And by 2011, when I had my birthday in February, I was like, there's actually a crisis. There's actually an intervention is needed. So that's when I intervened myself and would have met you actually very shortly after that. Because yoga was a big part of the intervention.
Right. Yeah. Wow. So that was a pretty gnarly Pluto square transit when really transforming, shall we say. Cannonball is another word associated with Pluto.
Okay. Yeah, that would make sense for that 2010, 2011 period.
Yeah.
Because it felt like it was happening to me.
Yeah.
So I got a lot of chronic fatigue. So that led me on a health journey. A lot of physical pain led me on a health journey as well. It was unavoidable.
So by the end of your, like, if we look at the dates, by the 2019 when you were kind of through.
That's nearly a decade.
I know. I mean, so much happens in that time,
brutal.
right? You have a completely and utterly different life from then.
Oh, chalk and cheese.
Yeah.
Chalk and cheese, absolutely. I mean, yeah, after that time in 2010-11, part of it was like a recommitment to self. Like I was thinking about this unraveling term, and for me, that period, particularly if it goes all the way to 2019, the word I've been using is like a renaissance. So a bit like, when Europe kind of rediscovered all that sort of Greek and Roman culture and sort of repurposed it for their means. Feels like I've kind of dug back to that sort of early Gareth, that teens and early 20s guy, and gone, what was the best bits? What bits do I want to sort of reinvent and reestablish? And yeah, by 2019, I was, probably unrecognisable to a lot of people. Yeah.
And you're an author as well.
Yeah, sort of.
Sort of. I mean, you're a songwriter, but...
Yeah, I normally go with writer. Author sounds really official.
Oh, right.
I've written words down, let's put it that way.
You've written words down.
Yeah, so I wrote a little book about my experiences in my 20s, so that quarter-life crisis, I guess. And it's got a rather fetching title. It's kind of intentional. So it's called The Procrastinator's Guide to Killing Yourself.
Yes.
Yeah. And I wanted it to be really direct. It started as a blog. I wanted to write a blog because having been in that situation myself, that someone might read at the point of that contemplation. So it's quite short and pithy. And even the book's pretty short and pithy. It's designed to be read in about an hour.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah.
I filched a line out of it for one of my songs.
Yeah, you said that. I'm kind of curious. I'm going to try and spot it. I don't want you to tell me. I want to come to your set tomorrow and just see if I can hear it.
Oh yeah, it's not on the list, but I believe it was the song that until last weekend at New Zealand Spirit, no one had actually heard.
Ah, okay. So
that's probably why I sent it to you when I first.
Okay, I'll have to dig back through my my messages then.
Yeah. It was a few years ago. Yeah. Oh wow. And so, what next for you?
Interesting. This week I'm meant to be in Melbourne, in Victoria, in Australia, and as you won't be able to hear on the podcast, I've damaged my leg dancing. So yeah, there's a little barrier there, and I think part of it is trying to make sure that I go there with the right intent, with the right array of feathers, if you like. It's very easy to slip back into that careerism, and just work hard, do well in the kind of normal society.
Well, it is quite attractive to, at least in some respect, do well in normal society, so that you're not worried about putting food on the table or a place to live. So yeah, no, definitely, and especially if you've got responsibilities or commitments that you need to service. Mm-hmm. Where I find myself now is that I've got less and less of that. So I've got one son who's now about to start his second year at uni. Mm-hmm. So he's kind of walking towards adulthood. And I feel like it's time for me to live a little bit, maybe like the gig, maybe just live a little bit more kind of on the edge. Just know what I'm doing next, but not forever. It's nice to not have a long-term plan. Yeah, I very rarely have a long-term plan because I'm like, I don't know who I'm going to be in 2 years' time.
Yeah, that's a good way of seeing it. Yeah, there'll be a different version of us, eh?
Yeah. I mean, if it's like a real goal that, this is like, I know for certain that that's what I want to aim at, that's different. Yeah,
and I've got one of them, so I'm sitting on a bunch of songs. 3 years, just before the pandemic, actually, me and my partner separated after 19 years.
Where did that fall in your astrological midlife?
So that was 2019.
Oh, right. So that was the end of your...
Yeah. So when you said that, I was like, oh yeah, that'd make sense because that was major,
Of course.
Spent nearly 20 years together, had a child, done the house thing, and travelled here, emigrated. So it's a very deep and loving and connected relationship, and it finished. And I probably spent about a year in hibernation, and then I realised there weren't many people walking past my lounge, so if I wanted to sort of meet somebody, I'd probably have to get out there and be a bit more proactive. So, like many of us, sort of started my journey on the apps. But like the last time I was single, there was barely even internet, let alone apps. So this was an entirely new way of doing things. And so for 2 years, navigated the world of dating, navigated the world of poly, kink, all sorts of kind of all sorts of avenues, and wrote a bunch of songs about that I'm on the verge of putting out into the world.
Oh, I'm really excited.
Yeah, they're very different. Like, I know when I did the mental health songs, it was a massive leap to be that vulnerable, to be that open, to literally be sort of bearing your soul. And now I'm really comfortable with that. Now I've got to do the same about love and relationships. And so I'm at this side of that, though. They're kind of like on the edge of the cliff, ready to leap.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I feel like I've had you as a great influence on me with your vulnerability about going out and sharing your story with the music, and that now at that part of my astrological midlife I'm finally ready to do the same thing, because I've just started sharing songs about relationship, etc., that I always used to just share what was kind of coming through in my 20s mostly, which was just like, it was just words from the divine, inspired. And I mean, I do have had that occasionally, but I can even see astrologically, like Neptune, like the inspiration was going over a few of my planets, and I was writing songs and feeling so connected. But that was my 20s, and then, you know, like midlife comes, it's like, okay, and there's all these like experiences for me to kind of make sense of and share. And I got some advice from some friends, like, you know, you don't want to share too much, so I had to rewrite a song and
yeah, definitely,
kind of make it a bit more generic.
And I think we've kind of built really similar in our songwriting. Like the songs are for us, they're us making sense of our experience. They come out of us, they sort of write us, and then we have to go, does anybody else want to listen to this? So there might be one or two people, like, share that song with me, you know, you might go, I'll just share it to this person because they'll get it, or it just feels good. And then it's like, do I take this to a stage and broadcast it to the, you know, whoever's listening? And that's another level.
I feel like it's quite niche. Like, I'm not comfortable to plaster things everywhere. It's not really in my nature, especially I'm writing about relationships, and I know that in the area of my birth chart I have like a very secretive kind of influence in that area, so I don't necessarily, unless it's like a long-term thing, put a photo of me and who I'm with on like social media, for example, whereas some people kind of like, that's all over and it's shared.
I mean, going Facebook official is a whole
thing, next level. You know?
It's like a negotiated goal.
And does that label us as past midlife because we're still on Facebook? Probably.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Quite gleefully, maybe because I've passed 2019. Like I'm not in the thick of it, and maybe the way you are. Like I can see that period as a period now. What else was I say? Oh, in terms of things being niche, I just wanted to talk a bit about that. I think part of it is, if you're being vulnerable, you need the person to know the context in which you're sharing. You know, so like, you're a funny person, so we need to see the glint in your eye when you say something, or the smile, or we need to know that it's kind of got a certain tone. And I think that means we've got to sort of do it in a group that you can just convey that. You know, it's not just the song, it's not just the words, it's the whole package, and that's when it lands best. I
put a song out that was satire once, and someone on the comments was like, oh my gosh, and they didn't get it. And so I've started performing like, okay, I would like to just clarify, this is satire. And again, just, it's satire, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Where are you in the in your unraveling? What stage are you in?
I'm in that kind of like last couple of years.
Okay.
Yeah, it's all like the big thing that was your 2018 to 2019 is just about to start in a couple of months for me.
And you've written Shake Up by mine.
Yeah.
How are you feeling about Shake Up?
It's the Uranus opposition. Well, on my last podcast, I talked to a couple of people into the celestial things, and one's an evolutionary astrologer, and he had said at a talk astrology talk he did in Raglan at another festival a few weeks back, he'd said, well, you know, because I'd heard that Uranus opposition can be a really big shake-up if you're not on the right track. The universe will just shake you up and kind of put you on the right track, sometimes quite painfully. And it turns out he's Aquarian. and he said, well, you know, if you've got a lot of like Uranian, so Uranus is the ruler of Aquarius, if you're comfortable with those Uranian influences, then Uranus opposition might be able to ride the waves a little bit easier. And I was quite happy about that, because I was like, I'd also heard, because I'd asked him in the talk, I've heard that there's a Pluto square, that if you have a hard Pluto square, which it sounds like you did, where the wheels came off, I felt like I really did, that maybe Uranus opposition will be easier. So I'm kind of like, am I going to get the shake up this year? But I've also been focusing quite a lot on listening within more carefully about the decisions and what I'm doing, kind of following human design.
I guess you're quite intentional as well, like you're doing this whole podcast about unraveling, so you're not walking into these phases blindly, like you've got it in your... I think that's the reason, part of the reason I'm doing it, like let me figure it out along the way. But then, you know, the astrologer I was talking to last week's like, well, you know, if you that's kind of a mind thing, like trying to strategize managing it, and you kind of need to go with the flow. I'm like, yep, that's true. But although I might have started it with, I started it with an inspiration, and it's been coming up. The episode I release after this one will be, I guess, 2-year anniversary. Wow. Apparently the average is to give up after 13, so the fact I've had double that is awesome.
It's good news.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I don't think this period of our life gets cliched. Yeah, well, and there's
the definition of midlife. Often people go, oh, well, that's your 50s, or once your kids have left home, or somewhere like not the astrological midlife, which is earlier. Yeah. But there is, of course, around the age of 49 or 50, maybe 51, depending on where Chiron was, the Chiron return, where it comes back, and it is a bit of a health check. Yours isn't just yet, but it's coming up soon, in the next year or two.
As if I need any more. Wow. Yeah. Okay, yeah. I'll stand by for that.
Yeah. Yeah, actually I need to check where exactly it is. It might have started already, like here you are sitting with your moon boot on.
Well, I've got a moon boot and I had open heart surgery a year ago, so, you know.
Oh!
Yeah, maybe I'm an early adopter of that one.
Yeah. How was open heart, you reflected a little bit on social media, I remember.
Yeah, I shared a bit of the journey. Yeah, it was profound. And obviously now from the safety of, recovering, great, but for a long time, I thought, oh, this is it. This is my numbers up, especially as I was on a wait list because of the lockdown. Oh. So there's some logistics around getting in and getting it fixed, and it really brings into sharp relief, just what you've got, and I'm often that sort of seize the day when things like this come up. It's like, okay, well, make the most of what you've got because you just never know. But yeah, I'm a year post that now. I'm feeling pretty good and grateful. I haven't lost the gratitude. When I came round, to be fair, I was smashed off my face on pethidine and morphine and, all those good stuff. But apparently I'm the only person who laughed around the tube, the life support tube. The ICU nurses had never heard anybody laugh with the tube still down the throat.
Well, I'm not surprised. He's the laughter yoga guy. Lots of people knew you for a few years there.
Yeah, so I was just so happy. So happy to be alive, so happy to have made it. And I haven't really lost that. It's stayed with me, and I think it might stay with me forever. I'm pretty jolly anyway. But just that core, like, I'm still here. Yeah, I'm still here. So, yeah, let's enjoy it.
Very good, very good.
Yay! There's a niche reference.
If you've been to a laughter yoga class, that will be familiar. Yeah. Oh, great. Wow, new adventures to come. So many adventures already had. Yeah, definitely been grateful for this life is a very important thing to remember.
Yeah, and trying to maybe going back to that whole, getting caught in the rat race. Like trying to make sure as much of your time and energy is spent in your sort of place of gifts. So obviously for us it's music, and you do a whole bunch of other feathers with the dream work and the kirtan, but even if it's just the simple relationships in your life, neighbourhood, like everyone's got something to bring. Obviously I'm at a festival, that's how it feels, as everybody contributes. So
yeah, it's a very, very sweet festival too.
Yeah, it's a beautiful one. This is the Seville Festival, very, very family focused, alcohol and drug free, of course.
It's probably one of the oldest running festivals in the country
so,
now.
Yeah, it used to be called Possibilities back in the day.
I'm just moving the laptop. Sorry, listeners, it's buzzing a little bit.
Okay.
So I figured it might be going close. That's the thing about doing on-site, like pop-up, yeah? It's actually much more straightforward doing these things on Zoom, but there's something different about sitting across from someone and actually having a conversation. It's, I mean, we all know from lockdowns that is so different from having like a Zoom or like in a work situation,
it's become
Teams
the
meetings.
Unusual thing, hasn't it, to be in person now? That's the odd thing. Everyone assumes to be on Teams.
I know. I was excited about my last day job contract that it was in the area that I lived, but then the majority of it was online because most of my team weren't in the same area.
The last one I did, actually, everyone else was in person.
Oh.
And I was online.
Oh, that is... Oh, I hate
And it was
that.
a bit tricky until I realised that if I used the little hand function, everybody stopped talking. And it's like, everyone's like, oh, Gareth's got something to say. And I was like, wow, I've got power in this room that I would never have if I was there physically.
I'm taking that on because I've always found that quite challenging.
So and I acknowledged it in the room. I was like, oh, the hand of God raises and everybody stops. So every time the hand went up, they're like, okay, no, we need to tune in now. I wasn't what to say.
Bow down too.
Yeah, absolutely. And apparently I was like, 4 foot tall on the screen or whatever because of the size of the monitor. So yeah, worked in my favour in the end.
Well, the hand of God reminds me of, because we both have spiritual names from our yoga time, and today you happen to be wearing a singlet that has Ganapati,
absolutely,
the elephant-headed god, Ganesh, on it. How did you feel about having that Sanskrit name? How did you relate to that?
Interesting. So that was at the time, that was 2011. So I went from sort of, city boy, career boy, to, I'm going to go and move to the country, have a lifestyle block, and then go to India to follow this thing called yoga. Within months, it happens so fast.
And I'd highly recommend listening to his song Down on the Farm.
Yeah, that was written on the farm, yeah. So I followed the yoga to Mungir, to the Bihar school. And I took initiation, and it was really funny, like, everyone came out of initiation, what did you do? And I didn't really have much sort of awareness of what it was. Some people were really disappointed, because they got a name that wasn't. I think somebody got Mahatma, and obviously because everybody knew Mahatma Gandhi, it's like, oh, you got the best name because you got Mahatma, and everybody else like, I've got this weird name that I can't even pronounce. And I couldn't even read, man. I was like, it's Gan something. I don't know what it is. So anyway, we sort of shuffled off for the night, and then the day after we went and did our Karma Yoga, our active service, and I went to the warehouse. So there was lots of people, real busy, and obviously we were encouraged to use the name. I couldn't even pronounce it. No one was telling me how to pronounce it, so I said, and I showed them the piece of the paper, and Ganapati! Oh! And they all made this big fuss over me, and I'm like, what is it? It's Ganesha. And of course I knew the name Ganesha. And Ganesh is like apparently his nickname. It's like his playful name. So anyway, they all sat me down and told me all these stories about Ganesha and stopped work for an hour to fill me in on the details. So of course by the end of it, I was like, wow, what an honour to be the first, named after the first god that's sort of recognised. When people come and do ceremony, they all pray to Ganesha first, the remover of obstacles, which, my understanding of the name is it's a name you grow into. Like it's an aspirational name.
Yes.
And as soon as I got that frame on, I was like, well, I've got lots of obstacles. I could go at this for a long time. And ultimately, the heart operation I had was a physical obstacle. It was a valve that got replaced. Yeah. So just everything from physical to spiritual to creative, the obstacles just moved out of the way. And so in the end, I'm like, wow, this is such a blessing of a name. absolutely. Love it. Love it. I love all these stories and yeah.
Yeah, I guess I was one of those people that got the name and went, okay, I think I know what it means. And I'm like, but I see the word rat in the middle.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then last year I did a shamanic journey workshop. I co-facilitated, but my friend did the shamanic journey part to find the power animal, and I've had it before, and I got a rat, and then I said to her later, I'm like, that's like my name. It's got a rat in the middle. It's Prem Ratna, which is, I mean, Ratna means jewel, like diamond type jewel, like the singer, who people compare my voice to sometimes. But yeah, I remember getting it and going, because I dreamt that I got given a name earlier,
okay.
and it was an entirely different name.
Yeah.
So that was an interesting experience, having been at the ashram and dreamt what my name was.
Right. Okay.
It'll be in an old journal. I kind of remember it somewhere. And then getting given it, but I was actually just reflecting on it very recently, and Prem being unconditional love, and I haven't thought of it for probably most of my astrological midlife, and really reflecting on going, I think I'm starting to understand it on a deeper level. Yeah, and just the reminder to come back to that Prem Ratna, which is, I feel like astrological midlife just came to challenge me to take me off that way, and I'm like, okay, I just have to manage that mind and draw it back, because those mind grooves can be just so bloody annoying. Excuse my language.
Yeah, quite persistent,
aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
They sure are. Well, and life goes on. I was actually just thinking when you were just saying that you went to the Bihar school, but you're not a yoga teacher, right?
No.
I was thinking that potentially I could crank the numbers of my podcast guests and what percentage have been yoga teachers, because there's been a fair few.
Yeah, I've come close, and I'd certainly be interested in doing the study for my own journey. I'm pretty. I've been doing it for a long time, but I don't feel I've got no interest in advancing it. I'm really happy with it where it is, and I quite like the diversity. So for me, I like the stretching, the breathing, the meditating. The kirtan is eventually, after I've kind of got over myself, is such a beautiful part of it. But it took me a long time. I think, and others have shared this, maybe you too, like when you're trained in a certain music, the Western tonal system, the do re mi's, kirtan just isn't the same. It's not music in that way. So I almost I felt I had to unlearn my sort of attachment to that structure.
Especially if you're used to reading music. Like, I remember the ashram in Canada I lived at, there was someone she was hell-bent on reading the music, playing the harmonium and doing it in the timing, but nobody actually sang it in the timing it was written. Yeah.
So if you get that at a young age, you do have to kind of, I'm really grateful because I can write songs and I can perform and do Western music, but it took me a while to stop seeing it as music and just see it as vibration, just see it as sound and bhakti and love, rather than a song or even a nursery rhyme. It was, it's just a different form of sound.
I mean, I was just saying that singing kirtan is amazing, and it also has this distinct advantage of, if it's a simple kirtan, because it's repetitive, it's so much easier to remember the words.
Well, sometimes there's only like 2 or 3, so yeah.
Oh wow, it'll be interesting to see, because we've collabed on a couple of songs before. You played keyboard on one of my tracks,
yes,
and then I did some backing on one of your songs.
Yeah, a few, I think, actually.
Yeah, at least a couple.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we performed together, and in fact, the one that I played on yours, I don't know if you remember, I wasn't asked to play on it.
No.
You sent me an early demo, and I got back from Auckland, and this was when I was living in this lifestyle block just out of Raglan. And I got back on a Friday, so it'd been a full week, and I was all kind of in my head and stressed and, citted up. And this arrived on a Friday night, and I was like, oh, cool, I'll go and listen to it. I had a little sort of home studio. And I'm listening to it, and I thought, oh, I can hear keys. I might just go and play my keyboard to sort of, get in the flow and lose myself. So I was playing along, just, tinkle, tinkle. And I thought, I'm just going to record this. So I did a few recordings, maybe 2, I think.
2. Yeah.
And then sent them through. I was like, look, if you can make anything of it, it's just random improv. There's no structure. There's no melody. I'm just playing along to the demo that I've heard. And then, it's such a beautiful thing. It's like, actually, there's some really nice moments in there, and we're gonna include them. Yeah, it's a real bit of magic.
Yeah, and it's my mum's favourite track. Yeah, the Tara Mantra. Yeah. Oh, thank you so much for coming and being on Unraveling Midlife. I did write down your name as one of the first on the first list I made after I listed a whole heap of women. I was like, well, if I was going to talk to a guy, who would it be? Well, I kind of feel strongly that women past midlife aren't necessarily featured as strongly as they could be in society.
Oh, absolutely.
So that's why I wanted to kind of give a voice for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. We live in patriarchal times, definitely.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't hear from a lot of listeners, but the ones I do, so feel free to contact me with feedback. That I do know that I do have a regular male listener, and but a lot.
Hi, Bob.
I think it's Mike. Hi, Mike. And then the others that give me feedback are, I guess, women my age and older. So.
Yeah, I think one of the things that'd be nice that I try to do, I grew up with sisters, so I'm kind of trained in it as well. I think listening to each other is the thing. I see a lot of this polarization of let's go do this for women, let's go do this for men, let's find the spaces in between.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, that's coming up more and more at the moment, isn't it? There's not just male and female. There's the fluidity. So I
think that's a really nice thing to sort of break out of this. We should definitely have spaces for our own groupings.
But in a way, it's still a grouping. Yeah. Do we have to go through this? Your X, your Y, your Z, and before we can get to can we just all accept each other for who we are?
Well, I think it's both.
It's both? Okay.
Yeah, because I think that space is being shaped and owned.
Yeah.
And needs to go through that process.
Yes, I agree. Yeah.
Certainly the mental health journey that I've been on and my work in that space, people have been owning and shaping that for maybe 50 years and maybe have another 50 to go. So I think that's fine. I think it's the coming back together again bit that we need to make sure we pay attention to, because otherwise, we just kind of end up in our own little echo chambers, our own clusters. And I think hearing from each other, especially on topics like this, shared human experience, regardless of what bits you've got and what sexuality you have or what gender that you own. Yeah, these are shared experiences, and I think it'd be really nice if we shared them in exactly this way. Yeah, real beautiful.
Great, thanks for that. Yeah, and listeners, if you have any, I already said feedback, but I've actually had some good feedback recently, so thank you, Charlotte, for all your ideas, feeding them back, and I'll take them on board when I'm properly later in the year when I'm not on the road. So
can I ask you a question? Just when I said
maybe.
I was doing this podcast, my sister was really interested in this idea of an astrological midlife unraveling. Is there any way we can get info? Have you got any plans to share the sort of mechanics of it? Or give us a taste of it sometime?
I leave it with me.
I say maybe it's not a question, maybe it's an invitation. It's I think people would like to know. I didn't know there was an astrological midlife component to this until you mentioned it.
It's interesting because my initial reaction is to go, well, I could point you here and I can point you here and I can point you here, and I have done that in the past. I've got a couple of episode 26 and 8 kind of both cover that from an astrological viewpoint, but
something to add to your midlife unraveling.
I think so. I think so. You saw me, we were sitting watching some music at the main stage, and I was on my phone with the ephemeris because I didn't bring the book on my travels, and working out the dates for you. But yeah. Well, there's a seed planted. Let's see what happens. Yeah.
Fabulous.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Welcome to the music section of the show. Today is a bit different, as I'm sharing Gareth's original music, with his permission, with myself on backing vocals. Something a little bit different from the general pattern of sharing my originals. Gareth thought that this song, Keep On Dreaming, was in theme with the dream work I share, so we decided to share it with you here today. Enjoy.
Dreaming now, gotta keep on dreaming.
Unraveling Midlife is brought to you from Aotearoa, New Zealand by www.sarahmarlowspence.com. Theme music is by Sarah Marlow Spence and Saraswati Marie Willis, and art by Samantha Hepburn.